back to the Daily Grind. Thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back pickle biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
UFC light heavyweight champion and arguably #1 pound for pound fighter on the planet, Daniel Cormier, is explaining why he's not too interested in a heavyweight super fight between him and Stipe Miocic. Now this is actually the same reason Daniel Cormier moved down from heavyweight, where he actually had 13 fights in the past. He was undefeated, 13-0 at heavyweight, but the champion was his teammate Cain Velasquez, who he will never fight. So he moved down to light heavyweight, and he was still super successful and became the UFC's light heavyweight champion, never losing to anybody inside the octagon, not named John Jones, who popped for steroids after their fight. So you can say Daniel Cormier has never lost to a clean fighter in the UFC, undefeated in 2 divisions. So that's why I say he's arguably the #1 pound for pound fighter on the planet. But now he could prove 100% he's the #1 fighter on the planet in everybody's mind if he were to fight the UFC's current heavyweight champion Stipe Miocic and he were able to win that belt. That would be insane. He would become not only the champ but the champ of the 2 heaviest divisions. That would, you know, put Daniel Cormier over. I don't care who you are, what you're a fan of, if you like his fighting style or not. If Daniel Cormier, the light heavyweight champion who just defended his title versus Volkan Ozdemir successfully with a TKO in the 2nd round, if he went on next to beat Stipe Miocic and won his title, I don't care who you're a fan of, what's your favorite fighting style, Daniel Cormier would be #1 fighter, unanimous pound for pound fighter on the planet. But he did say he hasn't really thought about going up and fighting Stipe Miocic. Now, he did before the fight say Stipe and Francis are just too big for him. And really, when he said they were too big, he was probably talking about Francis Ngannou if Francis Ngannou were to win, because, you know, he had 20 pounds on Stipe Miocic. So Francis Ngannou's probably got a good 40 to 60 pounds on Daniel Cormier, who's a wrestler. And it'd be pretty hard trying to wrestle Francis Ngannou. But Stipe Miocic might be a little more realistic, even though Stipe Miocic's wrestling skill would be higher than a Francis Ngannou's. He's got a little bit less size. So I honestly would love to see this fight, Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic, and it's still a possibility. But Daniel Cormier did give the reasoning that, look, my partner Cain Velasquez, he's been out for a while, but he's looking to make his return. And when he does return, he's coming straight for the belt. So I'm not really even thinking about moving up to heavyweight because I know my teammate Cain Velasquez is coming back for that title. Dana White has responded to this and said, look, Daniel, we can make the fight Daniel Cormier versus Stipe, and if Daniel Cormier does win the title and Cain Velasquez comes back, he can just set down the heavyweight title and go back to light heavyweight. But this is still a fight that should happen, and I think that we might very well still see Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic, depending on Cain Velasquez's timeline of returning. Just because Dana White, you know, is on board, Stipe Miocic has commented on the fight and said, look, I just got done fighting. He didn't say much about it, but you know Stipe Miocic. You think Stipe Miocic would turn down a Daniel Cormier fight in what mind? You know, he was ready to fight John Jones when John Jones was talking about fighting Brock Lesnar. But John Jones didn't really want to fight Stipe. But I will say, though, with all that being said, Daniel Cormier is explaining why he's not interested right now in a heavyweight title fight. And his main reason is that Cain Velasquez is coming back. So with that being said, it is what it is. I still want to see this fight. And as Dana White said, he can fight Stipe, and if he loses, we don't even have to worry about Cain Velasquez coming back and Daniel Cormier being in the way. If he beats Stipe Miocic, then he can just, you know, either vacate the heavyweight title or Cain Velasquez can fight a #1 contender fight before, and we can see what happens from there. But I do want to see Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic in 2018. I absolutely believe that's a fight to make, and it's pretty much a win-win for Daniel Cormier in my mind. So kind of like Amanda Nunes versus Chris Cyborg. So with that being said, it is what it is. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. I just thought about something real quick. It's actually not a win-win for Daniel Cormier, because if he goes up and loses to Stipe Miocic, he's no longer undefeated at heavyweight. So, you know, Amanda Nunes, if she loses to Chris Cyborg, it's losing to Chris Cyborg. Daniel Cormier actually does have something to risk. It would also be the only loss on his record to not John Jones. So Daniel Cormier actually does have something to lose going up and fighting Stipe Miocic. But with that being said, I still think it's a fight that for the fans that we would love to see. But Daniel Cormier might have to be incentivized on top, and depending on the Cain Velasquez timeline. But yeah, so still a dope fight, but we'll see what happens with that. Let me know if you guys want to see DC versus Stipe, or if you'd rather see DC defend his light heavyweight title and Stipe fight Fabricio Verdum or fucking Cain Velasquez on return. So with that being said, now I'm out.
Bye, Felicia.